Hello and welcome back
to the In Your Mind podcast.
How's it going?
Are we going to say season 2?
Season 2!
Woo!
Wow!
Confetti.
Season 2. How about it? It's episode 50. And we're going into a new chapter. We have just moved, officially getting everything sorted, getting everything settled in. Brandon's got a new studio. The podcast has a new studio, a new space.
Yeah. If you can see that on the video.
Yeah.
We post this stuff on YouTube. I don't know if people are aware. If they want to watch it, they can watch it. If you want to listen, you can listen. Yeah. New mics.
New
Hopefully
mics.
it sounds better. Let us know.
Testing. Yeah.
Yeah. New vibes, new season. Let's go.
Let's go. Yeah. So this week we got a really cool question asked from one of our listeners. And I thought that to do it fully justice, we should create an episode on it because it's a question that encompasses so much and so many intricacies, and that's something that's so relevant for so many people, including myself. Like, this is something that I battle with daily. So just gaining more clarity on it and working it out can really help us navigate this. So the question.
And also, before we get started, if you want your question, ask it on the pod. DM at In Your Mind on Instagram.
Yeah.
Put it in the comments on YouTube. We read all the comments, get all the DMs, so shoot it to us there. And might do an episode on it.
Ooh. And don't be afraid, ask whatever as well. We want to talk about deep stuff that is usually hard to confront or talk about or have a conversation about. So I think this is just a very safe space, and we like to get curious with things and really divulge it. So
even if it's not deep, bro, we'll make it deep.
Yeah.
We can make it deep.
We can make it deep.
So don't feel self-conscious or is my question good enough?
No.
There are no stupid questions, as they say.
Yeah, there's no stupid questions, and you can always find so many angles to it and intricacies of even the simplest things.
Yeah.
Yes. So the question. I asked myself recently, do I value someone's opinion about myself more than my own? My answer was no, but I questioned my answer a lot, and I would love to hear your guys' answers. So, do I value the opinion of others about myself more than my own? So there are so many different contexts where this could come up as well. So it's is this within what you're choosing to do with your life and your work? Or is it the way your mannerisms and you're thinking about other people are having opinions on it and you're valuing that? So you're kind of editing your speech or editing what you say around them, or you aren't able to fully show your full self to everybody because of their opinion of you is oh, I like you, but I don't like this part about you, or if this part about you changes, then that would be better. So if you're constantly adapting to every person's wants of you, then you're not being true to yourself. But it's hard when you really value the opinion of that person and that person means a lot to you, because then you'll play into it a little bit, because you'll for me, I wonder why they think that, or where that's coming from, where that opinion's coming from. It might have good intentions, but if it's forcing me to be someone that I'm not, then is that really what that person wants for me? And is that healthy for me? What does that actually mean for me? I feel like a a lot of my life was just judging like where I was, or it still is, like when you're applauded in one area, you go towards the applause. You don't want to go towards people going, don't do that. Like that's not what's, I don't know, like you want to go towards the thing that you're getting the most like praise and reward to, like naturally, like that's what you're going to do. But there comes a point where you're like, am I actually happy? Like, is this reward actually like fulfilling? And is this rewarding? Or am I just pleasing other people and I'm just stuck feeling like empty? Yeah. And I guess for me, that also came around when I was detached from my like family and friends in Australia, where I could have some separation of like, who am I to them and then who am I here? It's like you can be whatever you want to be. And that kind of gave like the freedom to be like, like there's some things I do just because it's what I do. Like it's not actually even thought out. And here I have this opportunity to be like, what do I actually enjoy when like all my friends and family is like removed and there's no pressure from them? And that's when you can like really like question whether things are for you or you just do them because you've been in a habit of doing it.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Because when you're living at home or you haven't left home for an extended period of time, you don't really have the deep contrasting perspective of the outside world. There are so many things that like are just the way they are and always have been, and you're not gonna really realize that until you move out and spend the majority of your time with people who didn't grow up like you.
Yeah.
And you can uncover a lot of the ways in which you think that you haven't thought about before, or things about who you are that you didn't really realize existed before. And then you can evaluate whether it's actually what you want.
Yeah. Because like I definitely found myself trying to work out what people wanted from me over there. Because I'm like, okay, well, I don't have my family and my friends, so I don't have like my roles. So how am I supposed to like act?
Yeah, it's good to start from zero, from scratch.
Yeah.
Because then you can build it the way you want rather than the way it just kind of happened. Because you don't have that, you can't make those conscious decisions when you're growing up and you're like a baby, a toddler, a kid. So you're kind of starting again, and then you can learn to do it the way you think is best at that time. And you can continue to do that throughout your life whenever you feel like the infrastructure of your life has kind of boxed you in. Like if you want to change, I think moving away to changing your environment is a really good way to.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's also a great way to test where you're at and how reliant you are on others, and like what in your routine is like really necessary and what you don't really care about. And like it kind of like consolidates like what it is that you want out of life by like moving your environment. You're like, okay, these things I want to continue to stay like solid and routine, and then these things don't matter as much to me, or I realize I don't need to spend as much time doing this. But the other thing I was going to say is like it's hard to start from zero. Like I think an easier approach is like, well, for me, I started like filtering myself so much because I thought, how do I act around like all these new people? And then I just went, okay, I'm just like not going to speak as much and work out like kind of like who they are and then what parts of myself to show to them. Which is like which I used to like pride myself on being when I was younger. Because I thought, oh, I'm a chameleon. Like I can like just get on with anyone and, you know, I can just talk about what they want to talk about. And to a point that's helpful. But when it starts like disrespecting yourself, and that's what I started feeling. I was like, whoa, I just now feel like every time I can't speak. I feel like I can't express who I am. I feel like I'm not even showing myself who I am because everything is so filtered that I don't even know who this person is. So that was really the turning point of like, okay, well, I feel upset because I feel like nobody knows me properly. Oh, why is that? Because I keep filtering everything that I'm saying and doing because I want to be liked and accepted by everybody, which firstly isn't possible. And second, is that really what I want? Do I want to be liked by everybody? And then seeing like, oh, actually, I don't really care to be friends with people that, I don't know, like there's a point in which you're like, okay, well, it's actually more harmful to be friends and to like bend to this person rather than just not seeing them and like just like why do you need that connection? Why do you need that person to like you? Why do you need every single person to like you? And it's still a very natural thing for me. Like I still am very like, when I first meet people, it's like you want people to like you. That's natural. But then working out, okay, can I be myself around, do I feel comfortable to be myself around this person? And what happens when I do just give them myself, like just show them my raw self? And if usually it's way better with people, you get deeper connections. And if you do have some disagreements, you can like, a lot of the time you can just disagree on some points, but there's more like self-respect and self-confidence there for yourself because you've said it, and then the other person knows who you are and you know who they are. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to go back to the question.
Yeah.
Do I listen to people more than myself? I mean, like, the question is so nuanced. Yes and no. Like, on the macro level, I always get the final say as to what I do and don't like, what I do and don't listen to. But on the micro level, it's important to listen, especially when maybe multiple people are telling you the same thing. Because one data point could be biased and misinformed, which they are. And even if they have good intentions, they can still be wrong. And figuring out whether they are wrong or they are biased or whether what they're actually telling you is truth. Well, you can ask yourself a couple questions like, is this person living the life that I want to live? Do they know, are they well informed about this part of their life that they're talking to me about? Is this piece of information that they're giving me coming from a place of abundance or a place of scarcity? And you can kind of find the answers to those questions, and then you can make the decision as to whether you want to take that on. Because like your parents, for example, hopefully they have the best intentions for you, but often it's not the most optimal advice, especially when it comes to taking risks. Because like if you're a parent, you don't want your child to be taking unnecessary risks.
Yeah.
In fact, you kind of want them to be safer than not.
Yeah.
So you're probably going to dissuade them away from, great risk. So, and also like, it just depends, man. Like you should definitely always have the last say. And if you're questioning as to whether you can trust yourself, that's a different thing altogether. Like trusting what other people think and trusting what you think. And because their opinion is different to yours, then you start to question yourself. well, then I think you just need a lot of time to think your own thoughts, and separating yourself, like we were talking about before, can be really useful.
Yeah. I think that point about like working out where they're kind of coming from, because everyone has different goals and different priorities and things that they value on, like, it's all a spectrum. And yeah, I think a lot of the time just working out what is really important to you and what doesn't matter as much. Yeah.
Yeah. Because a lot of times, like, everyone has an opinion, but a lot of times that opinion isn't based off anything at all. It's just an opinion that they have.
Yeah.
And oftentimes it's taken from someone else.
Yeah. Or from
that
their
they're
parents.
just repeating, and they don't know what it actually means. Like, the right advice at the wrong time is the wrong advice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's so many nuanced parts of the conversation.
Yeah. And I think it's really hard after high school, because in high school you're just following what that system has taught you and your teachers say and your parents and that structure, what that structure kind of means. And like, okay, you go here and then you go to uni and you do that. Like, it's all very like given to you in that structure. But then once you leave, it's like, okay, now you can decide whatever you want to do. You make the rules. And that is like a lot just handed to you. And it's hard to trust that then you would have the right advice for yourself at that time, because you don't have much past experience of having the freedom to make those choices, especially about your overall life. Like, there's a lot of time there that you just need like experience and learning. And there might be a lot of like limbo time, because you need like those freedom decisions to like test out what it is that's actually driving you and what you find fulfilling, what's giving you life, away from all the structures that are impeded upon you.
Yeah.
Which is interesting as well, because like I was so done with education and like learning after high school. I was like, get me, like, it was good and I enjoyed it, but then I was like, okay, like, just, you've got a couple more weeks and then you can just ski and you don't have to think, you don't have to do anything, like, you just got to ski. And that's like, it was so interesting to go from that, and that's what I needed for a little while. And then after having that for a bit, I was like, oh, actually I would like learning about something that I really want to learn about and working out what that was. Yeah.
It always just comes back to awareness. Like, at the fundamental level, if you're questioning whether what other people are saying is something you should listen to, or what you're saying to yourself is something that you should listen to, like, you just got to figure out what you want. You got to have a goal. You got to have something you got to have a foundation to compare everything else that's coming in to. Like, if you don't have a goal for your life and someone's giving you their opinion on how you should live your life, then A, everyone's going to tell you different things, so you're going to be confused. And B, like, technically all of it's wrong because you don't have a compass to go off. Like, you have nothing to compare it to.
Yeah.
So really, like, following any of that advice, like, it can help because some paths will feel better than others and you can kind of figure out which way you want to go from there. But that can also take you a long time if you're not conscious of the fact that you got to figure it out for yourself. Like, if you're just following other people's advice, then you're going to end up in the same place they are and you're going to live a life that is similar to theirs. And if you can just look at their life on the macro and see if that's something you want to go towards or not, that can save you a lot of time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. If you can align the way they live their lives and their intentions with yours, if they have good intentions for you and they live the life that you want, and the third thing, they've helped other people get there too, that's someone you want to listen to. But if they're missing one of those three things, maybe they're an expert and they've helped other people get there, but their intentions for you aren't pure. You probably don't want to listen to them. If their intentions are pure and they haven't helped anyone get there before. Maybe they don't have the best advice. Because they can get there themselves, but it's a completely different story when you're trying to help someone else. Because everyone's path is different.
Yeah. I think it's just like giving it the time. Like if it's an important question, it's giving it the time to allow like all of the intricacies in and not like distracting yourself from it too. Like if there's a big thing that you kind of need to like work out in your head, just like sitting down with it or just mulling it over a bit is so helpful too.
Well, I mean, that's how you figure it out. You got to work through it.
Yeah. And like I think journaling's a great way to do that, to just writing it all out, just like dumping it.
It's like we were talking about, I forget which episode it was. It was one of the last most recent ones. But it's like you just do something you enjoy and kind of have it in the back of your mind at the same time. And you'll find yourself come to some sort of conclusion. Like you don't have to be thinking about it actively.
Yeah.
Especially if you're doing something that requires your full attention. Like if you're riding a dirt bike, you probably don't want to not be focused on where you're going or something like that. But if you have it in the back of your mind and you're in flow, that's kind of where you find the truth. You know what I mean?
Answers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then it's in your subconscious kind of, and your subconscious doesn't have any agendas.
Yeah.
Like your conscious mind, your ego does. So you can kind of skip around all that junk.
Yeah.
Into maybe what you actually want.
Yeah, I definitely think like the things that I'm like thinking or questioning at the time will always find their way into the things that I'm doing or the people that I'm seeing, and I will get advice through even just watching their actions or something they said that was like half related or semi-related, and you're like, oh, this actually contributes to like what I was thinking about. And yeah, it's kind of like what's in your RAS, like what are you focusing on and why, and what are you trying to, you're always like, your logical mind is like trying to find reasons for just like the daily natural events that happen and the interactions that you have, and you're constantly piecing things together. And if you allow that to kind of run through you and not try and suppress it if it's uncomfortable, then you can reach answers faster too.
Yeah. So like, do you listen to other people more than you listen to yourself? Probably. But that's not necessarily a bad thing either.
Yeah.
Should you? It kind of depends on what we've been talking about, whether you should listen to them or not.
I think listening 100%, valuing it over your own, no, because it's your life and you get to decide like what you want your life to look like and what you want to live by and what's the most important things to you, because then that will really shape what you listen to and what you don't.
And then the third step of that is actually doing the thing. Like, I feel like you can get stuck in the thinking and trying to find the best plan and trying to find the best advice. And because everyone's telling you different things, you never really go. And so you never really figure it out. And the cycle gets worse the longer you stay there. Like, you ask one person for their opinion, makes sense. I'll double check that with someone else.
Yeah.
See if it works. And they tell you something completely different. You're like, oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I'll just ask this person and try and figure it out.
Yeah.
And they tell you something different, and then you're like, and it just gets worse and worse. But if you had just taken the first person's advice and you executed, maybe it worked, maybe it didn't.
But you would have learned something.
Yeah. And now you have something and now you have a base to move from.
Yeah.
Whereas like you've got a base, you go to the second person now and they tell you something different. Okay, well, based on what I've done here before, this part of what they're saying doesn't make sense. This part, maybe it does. So I'll put that bit in and then I'll try again. Okay, still doesn't work, but I am closer.
Yeah.
Go to the next person and continue to do that And eventually you take piece by piece by piece rather than pulling the whole thing down and building the whole thing back up with everyone's different opinion.
Yeah. But I do think that's not taking everybody's opinion. I think you should do that, but with people that you were saying, like, that are living their life the way that you want to, or that have achieved things that you think like that you want to. Or yeah, like you got to know, like, do you really, and their intention as well. Are they saying their opinion because they just have like a bias against it because it's what their mum drilled into them? Or like, did they have, like, what was their experience? Because everyone's coming at opinions with an experience that has shaped what they believe. So I think, yeah, just working out whose advice you want to take for what is like very important. And then once you trust that, listen to it, try it out, doesn't work, do the next thing. But put it against yourself. Put it like, does that sound right to me? Does that feel right? Sounds good.
Yeah. And often, like, you can go to one person for one thing, but you might not go to the same person for another thing. Like, you don't have to have one person for everything.
Yeah, totally.
And it's better to have a committee of people for different areas of your life, because chances are most of us don't have someone that has it all figured out.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And we have people that we know their strengths in one area.
Yeah.
And we can, use that.
And if you can also reflect internally and see where your strengths are.
Yeah.
And what you know a lot about, who you have good intentions for, and who you've helped get to the place where you are as well, then you can begin to help other people as well.
Yeah.
So then, like, if you find other people that fill the deficiencies within you and you can also fill their deficiencies and help them, then you can have a relationship that builds you both. And you can start bringing in people.
Yeah.
And, you know, you can build something.
Yeah.
But yeah, you need to be aware of what they have, what you have, making sure it aligns.
Yeah. And I think it's also natural just to have like a response of when somebody says something like, oh, well, that's weird, or like makes a comment that makes you feel like inferior of some sort. But also, where does that come from? Like, a lot of the time, if someone's making a comment, it might spark something insecurity within them because they've been taught that that's not the right way to go about things, and they're just passing that on. So a lot of the time, concerns or opinions about things that are risky or scary is just coming out of a place of fear.
Yeah. And I think it's really important to realize as well that, like, even if you don't agree with it, or even if it doesn't make you feel good, it can still be true. Even if it's coming from someone who doesn't fit all three categories, it might fit your situation.
Yeah.
So just because you look at this person, you judge them from the outside, not knowing anything about them, they can still have your answers.
Yeah.
Like, you could look at a stranger sitting on the bus stop of the street.
Yeah.
You know nothing about them, and maybe they don't know anything about what you want to learn about, but they can still have an answer.
Yeah.
So having the humility.
Yes.
And being open and being able to
take advice from anybody.
Always
everything.
Be open.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. Yeah.
Because even like their intention might not be to help you, but they could just say something you're like,
yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of saying with like when you have something in your head and you're mulling it over, and just like the random conversation on the bus with the people in front of you, and you're like, huh, that kind of applies to me.
Yeah.
Like just some sort of random advice that your brain is like piecing together for you. Like all of that can be so helpful.
Yeah.
So just keeping your awareness open as much as possible so you can be ready for all those like snippets of learnings.
And I think faith is a really strong part of that too. Like having faith in whether you believe in God or the universe or the source or collective consciousness or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Having faith that the answer will come.
Yes.
And trying to find it and not being
nihilistic,
closed off to channels, because you never know where the answer is going to come from. Like you said, it could come from anywhere. It could come from like wow, that's a cool colored flower.
Yeah.
That kind of looks like a,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, like it could come
Yeah.
from anywhere.
Yeah.
You never know. So you just have to be ready.
And not shut it down when it comes as well, because it seems to.
It's like, oh, I got the answer from a
Yeah,
flower.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, it must not be right.
Yeah. But sometimes, like, it is, but then your judgment squashes it or hinders it because you're like, oh, but that person said it. Like the same thing. It's like, oh, but it came from them.
Yeah.
And then your ego of like, oh, they're not,
Yeah.
they're not good or something like that. And you're actually blocking yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a big point. Yeah. Because like we're talking about the RAS and stuff before, like the things you notice for a reason.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to give everything a thought at least.
Yeah.
And often the things you don't want to hear the most are the things you probably should pay attention to. That's what I've found at least. The things that you let go the fastest are kind of the things you should take a second look at. But yeah.
Yeah. And the other part is like nobody, when someone's giving you advice, nobody will ever know everything about you and your situation perfectly of the things that you value. And there's a lot of assumptions that we create about each other just in order to just do the steps and to get through. But when it comes to advice or opinions, there's a lot that is unsaid and things can kind of be like skewed or manipulated or come through wrong because there was an assumption made. So yeah, I think that's the other thing is like you only truly know yourself and your values fully because you can't voice all every intricacy even into words to another human.
Well, you're not even conscious of most of them.
And then yourself, yeah, exactly. Yourself, you don't even know half of them. So they're easy to get like misconstrued with another person's interpretation of your situation, of what you want, of all these things. And then maybe you've left out half of it. So there also is always room for like just being aware that people's opinions and judgments are usually coming from a place like nobody has all of the answers and all the information. So there's not always going to be 100% truth. There's always going to be.
And anyone who has ever done anything and has helped anyone else do the same thing, they will tell you like, I don't have the answer.
Yeah.
I have my answer.
Yeah.
And maybe it'll help you.
Yeah.
Anyone who's pretending to have the answer is probably the person you want to avoid the most.
Yeah.
Especially if they're selling it.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. But we're not, we also...
Also, buy my book. Coming soon.
I was going to say, I was like... But yeah, we never have all the answers. We just want to have a conversation about intricacies and depths and curiosities and question things and get to a deeper understanding. But there's always parts that we'll miss as well. And I know that 100%. And we're always learning, we're always growing every day, new experiences. Our ideas are always evolving.
Yeah, ask us the same question in a month.
Yeah. Yeah, seriously. There'll be different things that come up for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. But we evolve. We're humans. If we stayed the same, that would be so boring. We're always evolving and growing and
the right advice.
Beautiful.
The right advice at the wrong time is the wrong advice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mic drop. But don't drop these mics because they're not the new mics.
Dope. Thanks for the question.
Thank you so much. It
If
was
anyone
really
else-
fun. It was really cool.
If anyone else has any other questions,
Yeah.
let us know. Let us know what you think as well. The audio quality, if you're watching on video, what you think of the question, the conversation style. You know, if you like my hair, any feedback is useful. Yeah.
We're all ears.
The answer can come from anywhere. So we are always trying to find it.
Thank you so much for watching or listening.
Welcome to season 2, baby.
Welcome to season 2. I'm so excited for this year. Got some cool guests in the works.
Ooh. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. See you next week. Bye.
Peace.